Hello, good day, good morning, good evening, magical beings. Welcome or welcome back. It's beautiful to have you here. I am expanding into the conversation around the fire energy and anger. It's interesting with this subject. I've noticed there's a part of me that's wanted to assume or had an expectation that maybe this conversation may not be so popular for people. And I feel like that's this kind of societal reflection that anger makes people uncomfortable, and just the whole volatility around the expression of anger. I've also been through a journey in my lifetime with my own fire and how that comes through me. And what I learnt growing up is that actually when I express that organically or honestly in the moment through my words, a lot of the time that made I can be quite cutting with my words. I've got to be careful how mindful, right? And this is like been a lifelong journey, being mindful of how I speak, how it's received, all of this stuff. So I've just observed that, but I've also observed that when I spoke about anger and fire the other day, it's one of the mostly watched videos, right? So then I went back to the why of sharing it in the first place, is that there's a lot of people that feel it, and that it can become a very frustrating, looping and quite damaging energy if we don't know what to do with it, essentially. So I was making some notes yesterday for a client, integration notes, homework, essentially. And the thread came up again, as it does very often, of core values. And I want to open up the conversation in a deeper way and share some medicine around this. Because the bottom line is, anger, just as fear as well, can be turned to fuel. It's not a completely dead energy. It's an energy that wants to move. It has a purpose. It's a messenger. And it really, if we come back to what is an emotion, it's energy in motion, and it's a messenger. So it's supposed to tell us something and then move through the body. And it's only when we hold on to things, it turns to rage. Rage is anger that's aged. A lot of people are walking around with this very old anger in them because it isn't resolved. I always come back to this word. When we're raging all the time, or we've got an underlying energy of anger within us, it's because there's something from the past that we're seeking resolution. We haven't come to a personal resolution about that. And I think for me, this is in two parts. Recognizing that resolution still hasn't been found for self, and that really the deep healing or wholeness comes from the personal, however we do that, the personal point of acceptance and understanding about what happened in the past. So there's that part of it. And then releasing physically. Rage in the body must be physically released. It needs to be moved through the body. So whether we find a space that we are alone, that's what I've found helpful in the past. I've screamed it out to the earth. I've found at one point I was using my staff. I was guided to whack my staff off something, and I was like, no, I don't want to. I'm going to break her. And she spoke to me. She was like, no, go for it. We've got this. I've got you. Bang, bang, like whatever it takes in a safe way that's not harming yourself or anybody else, a recognition that might be necessary to move stuff through the body. But what I really want to talk about here is the message and the deeper learning that's available from anger. Now, a lot of people are raging at the state of the world at the moment. And, or if we find, for example, that a particular thing in our life, on our journey, has the potential to trigger our anger very quickly, and it's always the same thing, it's the same theme. If something consistently makes you angry, or it's just the state of the world right now, I'd like to offer some codes around getting the juice out of that, alleviating the suffering and turning it into a purposeful energy, turning it into a fuel. Because anger has the potential to be moved through and used for a greater purpose, for us to receive the message in the emotion that it is trying to convey. I'll give you an example of a pure functioning, organically, the functioning of an emotion or a message when received in truth and acted upon as such, and then just let go. Like if we think, and also the difference between the energy of anger and other lower frequency vibrations that are in the body as well, and how anger is really an opportunity for us in many ways. When we're kids and we do something that we probably know we shouldn't have done, or we just do something silly without thinking or whatever, and we get caught out or found out, or something happens, something happens as a result of what we did, and we know that we were in the wrong. As a human being, you get that feeling of shame, don't you? Get that little feeling in the pit of your stomach, okay? If we just stick with this example in its purity, in other words, with no judgment. So a human being is learning how to experience life at whatever age. We make a decision that wasn't necessarily in our highest and best, or somebody else's, or maybe wasn't thought through. The internal wisdom guide, your spirit, your instinct, gives you a little nudge to show you that wasn't really the best way to do it. There would have been a better way. And that little nudge is the little feeling in the tummy, which we call or have identified as shame. If we take that in a light-hearted way and receive the message, then a human being would just go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll course correct that, because I've just been shown that actually it's not the best way to do it, and I could have created a better result and or effect by doing either not doing that or doing it differently. Noted. We learn, and next time we do something differently, or we don't do that thing. The body doesn't hold the energy of shame. It was just a message. The human being has learnt from the experience and then evolved, and will not make that mistake again. That's a very pure or basic example of the organic function of an emotion. We see it for what it is, we take the learning, and then we evolve. But that very rarely happens, to be honest, because something gets involved, doesn't it? Somebody's judgment. And instead, if the kid is shamed in that example from an external, you know, or then hooks into the feeling, oh no, I've done something wrong. No, yes, maybe in the moment, but it's not wrong or right as in good or bad as a value. It just wasn't the best way to do things. And our internal compass is always guiding us. Life serves us, always guiding us for our highest and best evolution. But the human gets really attached to emotions and starts to question their worth or their validity or whatever as a result. So if we take that model and strip away the personal meaning and the whatever it is, and just look at the emotion and the energy of it for what it can tell us about ourselves. Now, if something's making you angry, even if we just take the world situation, anyone with an internal compass of what is right and wrong, receiving such huge energy and information of injustice and cruelty, for example, anybody with a divine barometer for what is right and wrong will sense in their body will tell them through a surge of anger, for example, that that is unfair, unjust, cruel, wrong. So at that moment, it is righteous anger. If we can keep it in this kernel of energy, in this divine messenger, okay, so that hits the body. Now, flip round and reframe the purpose of it. If an emotion hits the body, comes into our awareness, it isn't designed to make us suffer. It isn't designed to confuse us or derail us. It's designed to show what really matters. What really matters to you. A lot of us as humans have had what is important in life and what is to be valued given to us like a prescription. There's a disconnection internally in the human race, mostly in, you know, the Western commercialized capitalist society. There's a disconnection from the body and from that true barometer and from the truth of what is right and wrong. It's all been distorted. If anger arises within you consistently, what value does that show you has been violated? Because anger is about justice or lack of. So that tells me that you really value justice. When we start to look at things in this way, emotions as messengers that keep knocking, that keep coming on a repeat to the point where it's uncomfortable for us, we're noticing it, it's causing frustration, it's causing confusion. There's a message that we're not receiving in a way that Spirit wishes us to look at. When we come to evolve and expand our consciousness as well as human beings, what we're essentially doing is coming into deeper knowing of self, into true knowing of self, expanding into more of ourself in our divine expression, in our higher consciousness, in our higher expression. Well, that version of self in higher expression is by definition embodied in the qualities or essence of God that uniquely wants to come through that human vessel. But we can't embody that or even get to know that if we haven't identified and owned what we truly value as a unique human being. Yes, there are things that all human beings uniquely value, such as safety, for example. But as a unique vessel, an instrument of God, of the divine, what fires me up in terms of my core values might be slightly differently from yours, because your purpose is different to mine. Even if two people work in the justice system, they may have very different angles, perceptions, or purposes within that structure. So looking at our core values is a really big part of and thread of the whole self-concepting thing. Like it's something that I bring in all the time and get people to look at, because within that, it's your unique frequency of what wants to be anchored in this world. So it's like the values of God that will be fully actualized and are as the framework and foundation of the new earth. Those values and qualities, the qualities, wish to come through each of us individually in alignment with that unique instrument that we are. When I started to look at what I truly value in my life, I started to realize that I was expecting it to come in from outside. It actually doesn't work like that, because I'm the instrument, you're the instrument. It wants to come through you. But you got to identify, recognize, acknowledge, and own, firstly, what that value is. Secondly, the frequency of it. When we talk about holding capacity and embodiment, it really is about bringing everything into this vessel, into this body. And so we bring the energy of it in, we bring the frequency of it in, which your cells then become acclimatized to holding more of that frequency, more of the divine qualities. So if anger is bothering you, does bother you, you don't know what to do with it, just lay the doing to one side for a minute, because that's just the mind. Frustration, confusion, all of the questions, everything. It's where the mind wants to know what to do with this anger, and the mind loops in the 3D consciousness, the external reality, and the physical. In other words, what already is. Your reticular mind, your conscious mind, jumps on the anger, wants to jump on the bandwagon, it wants to resolve it, but it can't, because it only has the past as a point of reference. And the message of the emotion is deeper. It's coming from your soul. So you're not going to receive it through the mind, and you're not going to receive the solution of what to do through the mind either. So it's about dropping into the heart. Okay, if I'm always angry, then it's telling me that justice or respect, it was a big one for me, was respect. It's telling me that something that I value is missing. So it's up to you to work out exactly what that is for you that's the worst bit. What is it that really, really bothers you about something that really makes you angry? Really get to the point of what is lacking. Whatever's missing or lacking, it's a lack of a core value of yours in your life. It's not out there in the external. It's lacking in your own vessel. I'll give you the example of respect. I worked out that I got really angry when there was disrespect. This is a lifelong thing. It's one of them ones where I could go to 0 to 10 with my temper. And when I really looked at it, I thought, well, there's a lack of respect there. You know, there's no respect being shown to that, or somebody's not showing me respect, or, you know, I had this standard of respect that in this world is often lacking, okay? So it used to bring a lot of anger up in me until I looked at what was missing there. So I started to sit with this. I thought, okay, this is something that really matters to me. It really matters. It's a core value of mine. So I was guided to sit with the frequency of respect. So I started to meditate and just be in my electromagnetic field and connect to spirit, to the earth, to God, however that looks. And I really just called in the vibrational frequency and the consciousness of respect. And I called it in as an energy and just imagined it coming into my field, and then just breathed for a while and imagined that through my breath I could draw in the frequency of respect, the consciousness of respect, because a consciousness of something has specific codes related to the quality that then comes through as a felt experience. It's a unique code or frequency for that value, for that quality of the divine. When you call that into your system, it will start to come into and you'll start to feel the qualities of it and what it feels like when it's actually in your life fully. Like, what would that look like? What would the implications of it be? How would it look in the world? When you do that, you're bringing it in, and then it suddenly occurs, am I, the I, my person, the I, that's me, giving that, offering it to myself? Am I holding the same standards? Am I holding the bar where I would hold the bar in the fully embodied reality? Does that make sense? In other words, where am I at with this? And I sat with it, and actually I realised I disrespected myself. And I was like, actually, there's a number of ways that I don't hold that high standard for myself. And I really took that inwards and thought, right, how can I be more respectful to myself? That is when you start to embody a frequency, then you radiate it out to the world. So when we're not understanding and receiving the message of an emotion, we tend to project it straight back out. It's about that person, it's about that thing, it's about the world, it's about that situation. And we get angry about it all. But really, what does that thing mean to you, to the consciousness that you are? And what is that asking of you? Because if you are here to embody and radiate the value of respect and justice, you've got to do that first before it then mirrors to you how that's going to be used in the world. Your core values are linked to your purpose. And a lot of people talk about wanting to find their purpose, but they're not anchored in what they truly stand for. Your purpose comes from what you stand for, and that comes from the embodiment of your core values. When that's an internal process, and when that occurs, you then start to, it's like a wave, the ripple effect there is you then radiate that core value. It's in your energy field. It holds the bar for you. And then, opportunities, things, visions, things will start to show you how that could possibly be used in the world. And it's much bigger than your mind thinks. We've got to get out of the mind in this world. We have to. So many people are still functioning without the basic. They know on one level, we live in an energetic reality. not functioning from what that truly means about ourselves and about how we look at the world and how we're receiving and what we're doing with the information. So anger, use it. What is it showing you? It's not a dead emotion. It can be turned and used for fuel towards your greater embodiment, towards your greater knowing of self and purpose. It's not like, well, I suppose rage can become very dead, but it's still lit. It still wants to shift through. Whereas an energy like shame, for example, when that gets packed and stored into the body, it's actually a very dead, inorganic frequency. There's no movement. It's very bleh. But anger can be used as a fuel, you know, and that's why we get so frustrated and volatile with it, because it's moving. It wants to move. So it's up to us to really, you know, ask it what it's trying to show me, and really admit, you know, if you realize, you know, God, you know, my life has been, you know, I've never respected myself. It's that realization, the mic drop moment, when we do actually listen to an emotion and we're taking accountability for that. We're taking responsibility for the energy that's moving through us, what it's trying to show us. How can we use it? You know, sometimes we have to bring in forgiveness of self, and that moment where we just honor self, because a lot of it we realize that we've been missing the mark. We've been looking at things the wrong way. We've been unconscious of things. You know, we've been giving ourselves away, disrespecting ourselves, not holding that really core value for ourselves first. You know, so that's part of the process. Just acknowledge it, recognize we have to see it to change it. Don't beat yourself up, move on. What does this tell me about myself? It tells me I'm a person who wants to, who's being asked to. The quality of God that wants to come through me is justice. It's respect. This world needs, think how much this world needs the energy of respect, the frequency of respect. It's not up to us to work out how we share that. It's up to us to embody the frequency, really truly do the work to bring it in, to understand the way that it speaks to you, and to allow yourself to receive that for yourself first, and then it's available in your electromagnetic field for others, and will start to attract the information, the opportunities, the messages there and visions which will show you what the bigger purpose in that is. But for now, it's all about you. And anger can be used as a fuel to ignite the purpose of our core values. If you get any value here, if you enjoy it, please do hit like, drop a comment, share, subscribe. It's different on here. There's not as much interaction. And, you know, it lights me up to know that you've received something, to know that you're good, how you are, what's going on. So if you do feel called to share anything, please do. That's always welcome. And I'm sending you so much love. Value yourself, beloved ones. Till next time.